On the morning of March 13th, 2016, around 9 a.m., the police in Baltimore, Maryland received a panic call from Jose Jones. Jose said he woke up in his home, and when he went downstairs, he noticed things seemed wrong. When he walked into the living room, he noticed a large pool of blood on the floor next to a body. This body was his older brother, 24-year-old Ricardo Jones, whom he lived with. Ricardo Jones was a well-liked young man. His friends and family were shocked that anyone could do this and were eager to find out who committed the crime as well as the motive behind it. Ricardo Jones was an employee at a local country club where he worked for just over 3 years. He had been living with his brother, Jose Jones, in their house for about 5 years.
I really loved my brother. He was really close to me growing up. Losing him was really hard for me.
Investigators arrived at the scene and saw the body of Ricardo Jones on the living room floor in a pool of blood. They searched the rest of the room as well as the rest of the house. Investigators found a broken bottle by the body covered in blood. An autopsy confirmed the cause of death was exsanguination from 17 stab wounds in the stomach from a broken bottle found at the scene. They also found bruising in the brain from being bludgeoned in the back of the head. Coroners determined the time of death was 10 p.m. the night before.
The person who finds the body is always going to be a suspect, especially when there was no one else in the house when the murder occurred.
At the scene, there were no signs of forced entry. Because of the violent nature of the crime and the fact that there were no stolen objects, robbery was eliminated as a possible motive. After examining the murder weapon, a broken glass bottle, investigators found 2 fingerprints. One was from Ricardo Jones. The other was from his brother, Jose Jones.
Whenever you find fingerprints, it is always a huge clue. We thought we had a breakthrough in the case once we found the fingerprints on the bottle.
Investigators questioned Jose Jones, who said he arrived home around 9 p.m. that night from his full-time job as a construction worker, putting him at the scene during the time of the crime. When asked about the fingerprint, he said that he was the one who purchased the bottle and had a receipt to prove it. Also, since the bottle was found in his house, it was arguable that he could have come in contact with the bottle, putting it away in the refrigerator.
I get it. My prints were on the bottle, and yes, it does look bad. I bought the bottle going home, coming from work yesterday after a 12-hour shift. I was really tired. I went to bed right away. I wish I could have saved my brother.
Investigators decided to take a closer look at the murder weapon, a broken glass bottle. This time, they noticed a partial print on the top of the bottle that they missed during their first examination. This print did not match Ricardo Jones or his brother, Jose Jones.
This was huge. I don't know how this was missed the first time. Only 2 people lived in the house. It was extremely likely that the third print was Ricardo's killer.
Without any other leads, investigators decided to question Ricardo's coworkers at the country club where he worked for any possible suspects. Most people there liked Ricardo, except one. Coworkers pointed to Jack Wilder as a possible suspect. Jack Wilder was a 28-year-old employee at the country club who had been working there for 5 years. According to Ricardo's coworkers, Jack Wilder acted friendly towards Ricardo but talked badly about him when he wasn't around and said things such as saying the country club would be better if Ricardo wasn't there.
This guy, Jack Wilder, there was something off about him. Apparently they were friends, or at least Ricardo thought they were.
I had met Jack a couple times. He was a little weird, but I didn't think anything of it.
1 month after Ricardo Jones was murdered in his own home, investigators asked the employees at the country club for 10 cards to see if they could link any of Ricardo's co-workers to the crime scene. Surprisingly, everyone complied. After comparing the unknown fingerprint found on the murder weapon to the fingerprints on the 10 cards, investigators found a match. It was the print of Jack Wilder.
Finding a print is huge, but it's not always enough to convict someone. The jury could argue that Ricardo and Jack were friends, and it's possible that they hung out and somehow it's printed up on the bottle. To really catch this guy, we would need other evidence.
Investigators brought Jack Wilder in for questioning. Police noticed he seemed nervous, but he claimed he had nothing to do with Ricardo's murder. Jack had an alibi for the time of the murder. He arrived at his house by 7 p.m. and stayed home that night. Since the crime took place around 10 p.m., this would make it impossible for Jack Wilder to have committed the murder if his alibi was true. When confronted with the fingerprint evidence, Jack said that he had hung out with Ricardo a couple nights before his death and came in contact with the bottle then. Investigators questioned Jack's neighbors for any potential clues. Luckily for them, they found a huge breakthrough. One of Jack Wilder's neighbors had a 24-hour surveillance camera set up that had a view of Jack Wilder's driveway. This included the night of Ricardo's death. The neighbor was willing to work with police and let them see everything his camera captured that night. After looking through the footage, they discovered Jack Wilder did not get home at 7 p.m. In fact, he didn't get home until around 10:30 p.m., making it possible for him to have been at Ricardo's house at the time of Ricardo's death. Police wouldn't have been suspicious if Jack were a couple minutes off, but there was a 3.5-hour difference between when he said he got home and when he actually got home. Police received a warrant to search Jack's car to see if they could find even more evidence. At first glance, they could see nothing. They decided to use luminol to see if it could reveal anything. The luminol confirmed the presence of human blood. Using forensic science, blood was extracted from the scene and taken for testing. DNA testing confirmed the blood was from 24-year-old Ricardo Jones. With all the evidence against him, police arrested Jack Wilder. After his arrest, they began to question him. How could he hurt a good man? How could he take someone's brother or son away? They didn't get an answer right away, but Jack told future inmates that Ricardo had just received a promotion at the country club. Ricardo was talking about how happy he was he got the promotion, which made Jack snap in anger. Prosecutors believe Jack Wilder arrived at Ricardo's house around 9:30 p.m. Ricardo offered Jack a drink and gave him the glass bottle. They talked about their lives, and when the promotion was brought up, Jack was filled with anger. When Ricardo had his back turned, Jack bludgeoned him in the head with the bottle, breaking it and knocking Ricardo unconscious. This explained the lack of self-defense wounds on Ricardo's body. Ricardo fell on his back and Jack proceeded to stab him 17 times. Luckily for Jack, Jose Jones was sleeping upstairs, and there wasn't enough noise to wake him up. Jack left the bottle beside the body and immediately fled the scene, but unknowingly left his print on the bottle. He arrived at his home around 10:30 p.m. and was caught on his neighbor's surveillance camera, disproving his alibi that he was home at 7 p.m. In court, Jack Wilder decided to represent himself. This did not work in his favor. The jury was confronted with all the forensic evidence against Jack Wilder for the murder of Ricardo Jones. Jack's fingerprints on the bottle, the footage of him arriving at his home after the time stated in his alibi, and the traces of Ricardo's blood found in his vehicle. The jury found Jack Wilder guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced him to 20 years in prison with no chance of parole.
This case was one that really stuck out for me, and I thank forensic science for helping us solve it, catch this guy, and put him behind bars.
I want to thank God for helping catch my brother's killer. I thought they would have never caught him. At the end of the day, I'm just happy for his justice.
Ricardo's family knows that justice has been served and now live more peaceful lives. They are grateful for the advances in forensic science for helping catch the man who killed their loved one. They say he may be gone, but he's not forgotten.